On February 27, 2011, a murder occurred in the village of Hyannis, which is found on Cape Cod, Massachusetts' southern coast. Todd Lampley, who was 31 years old, was fatally shot through his bedroom window. It took 12 years to uncover the truth behind Todd's murder, despite some shocking evidence that was discovered at the crime scene. Hyannis is a charming city that is tucked away on Cape Cod, Massachusetts' southern coast. This charming gem is full of history, natural beauty, and endless things to do. The serene waters of the Nantucket Sound surround the village, offering breathtaking sunset views and numerous opportunities for water sport enthusiasts. Hyannis's charming main street is lined with vibrant shops, art galleries, and eateries serving delectable regional seafood. For those who love history, the 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, loved to spend his summers in Hyannis, and his life is chronicled in the John F. Kennedy Hyannis Museum. In addition to its cultural attractions, Hyannis is home to immaculate beaches that provide a tranquil retreat from the stress of daily life. Today, our case takes us to this city. On February 27, 2011, Hyannis, Massachusetts, was calm and peaceful, with a light breeze sweeping through the streets. However, nobody realized that the tranquility of the area was about to be shattered by a heinous crime. Todd Lampley, a young father and adored member of the neighborhood, was about to pass away suddenly. As the evening wrapped up that fateful day, a worried neighbor went to see how Todd was doing. He became aware of an issue as he got closer to Todd's house. He noticed that Todd's door had been locked from the inside. The neighbor became suspicious and immediately contacted the police. The detectives showed up at the address Todd's neighbor had given them. Their anticipation and fear sent their hearts racing. Nothing could have prepared them for what they saw. They could only imagine the worst-case scenario. When they arrived, they discovered a horrific scene. Todd Lampley, a 31-year-old man, had been shot dead through his window and was found lifeless on the floor of his bedroom. The crime scene was covered in blood. It was a horrifying scene. Hyannis residents as a whole were in disbelief. How could such a thing occur in their tranquil neighborhood? The investigation that followed Todd's murder uncovered secrets, lies, and shocking revelations that left everyone in disbelief. The investigators' shock turned to curiosity as they examined the crime scene. When they started to assemble the evidence, 3 shell casings and a black cell phone were discovered at the crime scene. It was clear that Todd had been ruthlessly shot from outside his window. The investigators were left perplexed and with a never-ending stream of inquiries. In an effort to find any clues that might help them identify the murderer, they thoroughly searched the area surrounding Todd's home. No lead went unexplored, and no stone went unturned. The detectives were aware that maximum attention to details is needed when it comes to cracking the case. To find anyone who may have heard or seen anything unusual on the night of the murder, detectives went from door to door and interviewed every local resident. As people told their stories, they paid close attention in order to piece together a timeline of events that would aid them in solving the case. However, when the detectives stumbled upon an odd object at the crime scene, Todd Lampley's murder case took an odd turn. Investigators discovered a sweet potato which appeared to have been used to muffle the gunshots. This sweet potato acted as a silencer. It appeared as though the murderer had been influenced by the popular HBO series, The Wire. Season 1 of The Wire features a tragic scene in which a woman is mercilessly shot and killed in her own home by a shooter who is hiding outside her window in the night. Before firing a fatal shot, the killer taps on the glass to draw her in. This terrifying scene is eerily similar to Todd Lampley's real-life murder in Hyannis, Massachusetts, where he was also shot through his bedroom window. However, this is not the only way in which the HBO series affected the murder. According to reports, in Season 4 of the same show, one of the fictitious police detectives solves a murder in which the perpetrator shot his victim to death using a potato as a makeshift silencer. The similarities between Todd Lampley's tragedy and the Wire world are unsettling and menacing. A demonstration of how honestly the show depicts life on the streets, where a similar trick was employed to conceal a gunshot. To muffle the sound of the shots that killed Todd Lampley, the perpetrator used a potato with a hole cut out in the center and placed it over a gun's barrel. Also, the cell phone that was discovered at the shooting scene was registered under the name of one of the show's characters, Marlo Stanfield, which heightens the intrigue of the case. To put it mildly, the relationship between the show and the crime scene was confusing. DNA evidence was found on the sweet potato after investigators sent it for testing. Even then, it would take years for investigators to connect this DNA to a specific individual. Investigators soon had another trail to follow. It was discovered that a handgun believed to have been used in the murder had been dumped into a nearby lake. Later, it was recovered by police after being fished out by citizens. Fortunately, detectives now had another lead in their inquiry. As part of his probation in a separate case, DeVaris Hampton, a man with a troubled past and a lengthy criminal record, was wearing a GPS monitoring bracelet at the time of the murder. Hampton was precisely where the gun was thrown into the lake according to location data from his GPS monitoring bracelet. Phone records showed that Hampton and a man who was at Todd Lampley's house at the time of the murder had exchanged phone calls and text messages many times. However, the strongest connection is yet to be uncovered. Detectives found evidence of a prior relationship between the victim, Todd Lampley, and the suspect, DeVaris Hampton. Hampton once claimed in court that Todd Lampley was responsible for the same area murder of Jacques Sellers in July 2007. It's interesting to note that Jacques was also fatally shot through the window. It appears as though Hampton was leaving a trail of clues for detectives to follow. It was only a matter of time before justice was done, because all the evidence pointed to him. Hampton had created a web of lies and deceit around himself, but it was beginning to fall apart. In 2011, after being detained in an unrelated case just a few days after Todd Lampley's murder, Hampton remained silent and declined to answer any questions regarding the Todd Lampley case when questioned. Although it was a frustrating obstacle, the investigators persisted. They were committed to solving the mystery no matter what. Years of diligent work were finally rewarded in 2016, when DNA evidence linked Hampton to the murder. Hampton had spit some of his phlegm into a puddle, and authorities collected some of it and used it to obtain a DNA swap without Hampton's knowledge. The results were conclusive when they were returned. The sweet potato's DNA matched Hampton's spit's DNA. It was a turning point in the investigation. The pieces were starting to fit together, but even with this damning evidence, it took until February 24, 2023, to capture DeVaris Hampton. For the fatal shooting of 31-year-old Todd Lampley, 40-year-old DeVaris Hampton was apprehended and charged with 1 count each of murder and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. When asked why Hampton's arrest was delayed for an extra 7 years, authorities chose not to address the reason for the delay in the tense and uncertain courtroom. In Barnstable District Court, Hampton made his initial court appearance on February 27, 2023, exactly 12 years after the fatal shooting. He pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, firmly declaring his innocence with a serious expression on his face. Despite the seriousness of the situation, DeVaris Hampton maintained his composure and resolve, knowing that he faced a protracted and difficult legal battle. As the judge scheduled his next court appearance for April 5, 2023, the courtroom fell silent. The investigation into Todd Lampley's murder may have reached a conclusion and a suspect has been named, but it's far from over. Russell Enos, an assistant district attorney, has been coy about the delay in the case, saying only that the evidence has been evaluated. Edward Fogarty, Hampton's court-appointed attorney, has pledged to mount a resolute defense and expressed faith in his client's innocence.